let's talk about the games. So I want to go in chronological order. So the first up is Ori 2, Ori and the Will of the Wisps. And what a game, my goodness. Basically just does everything that the first game did, but it does it better and it does it more often. So once a game actively leaves your memory, what's left of the game in your mind is what actually like truly stuck with you. For me, what's stuck with Ori 2 is just an absolute escalation in presentation from the first game. The movement, the environments, the bosses, the pacing is killer. All of it is dialed to just the perfect amount, and it's a game I'm actively looking forward to replaying sometime soon. And speaking of games that are good, let's talk about Astrobot. Really good transition there, not gonna lie. Okay, actually, let's not talk about Astrobot. I've said my piece. I said it for 13 minutes. All I'll say is that I like the game, and it made me rethink the phrase, they don't make them like they used to. And speaking of games that elicit the feeling of the year 2007, let's talk about Space Marine 2. Space Marine 2, the other they don't make them like they used to game of 2024. There's many games like that, but that's just one of them. Space Marine 2, in so many ways, and to so many people, is a triumph of a video game. To me, it feels like that perfect blockbuster renting game where you look at it and you're just like, oh man, this is like the perfect game to play while drinking Mountain Dew, eating Doritos on your Xbox 360, except it's done at such a really good presentation in terms of like how it looks graphically, how it's what it offers as a package. Because in 2024, like, you know, blah 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 Concord, blah 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 live service, we've all heard the same buzzword talking points that everyone talks about. But like there is a true feeling that like Space Marine 2 is just an old-fashioned video game. It has some Battle Pass rewards that are cosmetic, but it just, all of that is fueling future free content that they're promising. And it feels like a game that will become a live service through the desire to play more of it, rather than like a game like Concord, where it's a game made with the purpose of being a live service. And then that's just supposed to draw people in rather than it just being like the core game is so good that people are addicted to playing this. Let's turn this into a game that people can play for longer and longer times, if that makes sense. My one thing about Space Marine 2 and the other thing about Astrobot, well, I'll just mention Astrobot real quick, which is Astrobot is more of a game that I just don't have anything bad to say about rather than anything that like blew my socks off with Astrobot. I really liked Astrobot, but I didn't love it. And the same thing happened with Space Marine 2, where I did not love Space Marine 2 in the way that so many other people on the internet clearly have. I think that comes down to a pacing problem. That comes down to some tired, played out mechanics that we've just seen before. Defend the point, shoot the thing that's far away. Other side note about Space Marine 2 is just the idea that, oh, the flippin' parry. So I love parrying. I love parrying in games so much. Sekiro is one of my favorite games of all time. I am a capital G Jamer. But the parry in Space Marine 2 kind of sucks. It is such a... It feels like a mini QuickTime event, but it's got such a long animation that you either hit it too early, but you don't know, because half the time if you hit it too early, it'll still register, or it's so quick that you can't even possibly think of like, oh, I guess I hit it not fast enough, because the animation just happens basically immediately depending on what enemy you're parrying. The best thing about the game is that it's probably the best ad for Warhammer 40k that I've ever seen. I haven't seen a lot of ads, but like this is by far probably the best thing about Warhammer that I've ever seen. And I purposely went into Space Marine 2 trying to not know anything about Warhammer or trying to not know anything about Space Marine 1 just to see what the experience would be like from my limited perspective. And it was amazing. The game excels at world building, and it makes you feel like this messed up dystopian society is somehow the coolest thing you've ever seen. So now is just the time for the segue, except there's no segue here. Now it's just a smorgasbord of everything else. So I replayed a bit of Animal Well. I'm slowly making my way through that a little bit as a replay, and it's my game of the year. I love it to death. I'm also replaying Balatro right now on mobile, now that it's on mobile, and that also is probably going to go back up to my number 2 game of the year. It's absolutely spectacular. Animal Well is like a puzzle-like Metroidvania, where instead of using like combat and stuff, you're using all of like these passive mechanics that the game gives you to not defeat enemies, but escape enemies kind of. and then also solve puzzles along the way. It's a whole puzzle Metroidvania, and it's brilliant. And the way that these mechanics mix in with one another, it's probably got the best vibe of 2024. Jeff Keighley needs to start a Vibe of the Year award at the Game Awards, because it would go to Animal Well every single year. Fun fact, I finally understand Elden Ring, and I finally understand why people like Elden Ring. So I played Bloodborne, Sekiro, Dark Souls 3, and Demon Souls within the span of 6 months. So I was prepared in 2021 to go into Elden Ring, which came out early 2022. And I respect Elden Ring. I really like it, but I never loved it. But now that I'm playing it on PC with the seamless co-op mod with my friends, now I'm finally understanding why so many people love Elden Ring, and I'm getting that experience through this mod. Black Ops 6, I played a bit of the beta in October whenever it was the beta time on PC Game Pass, and this is the first Call of Duty multiplayer that I've played in nearly 10 years. It's amazing. The omnidirectional movement is killer. I just love being back in the vibe of just like, you're playing a shooter and the goal is to win. All I had was Destiny for years, and Destiny was kind of my multiplayer fix, but like Destiny's gone to that farm up state where all the devs are also there because they got laid off. Yeah, so that's a lot of rambling. We're about 10 minutes in right now. I don't know how much this is going to get edited down to, but I thank you for watching, and I hope that you listen to more of my incoherent ramblings. Thank you.